welcome to episode 113 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I'm Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California, joined by best friend entire world over Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, drinking out of your Geeks Who Like Sports mug. How are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Look, it's reached the time of the year where I stay inside all the time because it's in the 90s outside. I do know in Los Angeles that it's much hotter, but this is when I naturally hibernate during the year. I don't do it in the winter. The winter's when I live. The summer's when I just kind of hunker down. Ray just showing everybody he has his Pod Bod t-shirt on. I have my Geeks Who Like shirts. Geeks Who Like shirts.
I like shorts as well. I like shorts.
Geeks Who Like Sports shirt because we also like shirts. Yeah, right away into the branded merchandise for the show. Anyway, yeah. Ray, I'm doing really well. This is one of those episodes. This happens from time to time, bud, where we finished recording last week, and within 48 hours, all of the topics we need to talk about happened in sports. It makes me actually sad. One day when we do this show daily, thoughts become things, and we're getting paid to do it on whatever channel we do it on. It won't be a problem because we can just talk about things as they come up. And then we'll have the radio show host problem of, nothing happened today. And we'll just have to do stand-up comedy or sketch comedy, and you win either way.
Yes, it is a win-win. But yeah, like Lee said, it is a huge episode. We got a lot to talk about. We even got NCAA news to talk about, which
we have not massive and
we've got
maybe the biggest NCAA news of all time. I think that's fair to say.
What's up, Casey? As Hand Tucks, of course, is using his points here in chat. For those of you who are watching the show live, you're getting a bit of a show. Already gave him his hydrate. But yeah, we're doing this live. This is live here on Twitch. And of course, we're also recording this for later. If you're listening after the fact, we appreciate you just as much as we appreciate our Twitch audience. We love you both.
But come on Twitch next time. Watch us live so you can interact with us. It's fun.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. The Twitch audience has a good time. We like to think of it the party.
It's on twitch.tv/Ray Carcillo because everybody loves Raymond.
Because that's what we got.
Well, it's because I don't have a Twitch following at all. That's also why.
That is fair. But we got a lot to talk about: football, baseball, hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs. Again, NCAA stuff. We've got a lot of video game stuff. We got a little bit of wrestling.
We got
a little bit of Star Wars. But
Ray, this show, I'm going to say it. I cut you off like 7 times. I apologize. But this show, you'll appreciate this. This is like the big juicy hamburger you want to eat. You're excited about eating it. It's not like the side hamburger at McDonald's you eat because you were hungry and you were just driving by. This is like you went to a good restaurant today for this show. You got the bacon burger, Ray. You got the cheddar cheese. Yeah. You got the patty that's an inch thick, Ray. You got the ciabatta bun or a potato bun, whatever is your fancy. All the toppings. We ran it through the garden, and that's today's show, Ray. And you get to take a bite out of it right now. I'm a hype man, Lee Elias. I'm here all week. Thank you.
The big first bite here is, of course, Loki episode 3. We're kicking things off again with Loki, Marvel shows. So, of course, we do the watch along weekly, of course, with streamlounge.io. Be sure to join us there. I know
you can watch the replays.
Darkstroke stopped by. Yeah, as a few other folks have been stopping by lately. We appreciate that here from the Twitch channel. And, of course, also our folks from the podcast. We appreciate that as well. But, yeah, Loki episode 3. Episode 2 left off with Loki chasing after Lady Loki, who now we pretty much all but assume, like she even goes by, she calls herself Sylphie, which is the real name of the second Enchantress, or Sylvie, excuse me. And they're basically, she's going to be Enchantress. This episode, though, really jammed on the brakes in terms of pacing. The first 2 episodes were breakneck pace, set everything up, lots of stuff happening. We got some key tidbits here from this episode, such as everybody who works from the TVA wasn't created by the TVA. They're all actually variants themselves, but they don't seem to be aware of that.
That's huge.
And of course, which is huge, huge news. And of course, it's left off with there is another apocalypse. They went to hide on a planet called Lamentis, which for those who are familiar with the comics, Lamentis is a planet on the edge of Kree space in Marvel Comics. Quasar has been there, the Nova Corps, Ronan the Accuser, all of those guys have been there.
All of the characters you had no idea existed in comic books until the movies introduced them. Yes.
Yes, right, exactly. They've all been to Lamentis, and basically it's in the future. Lamentis is being destroyed, and the episode ends, by the way, spoiler alert, the episode ends on the cliffhanger of the planet's destroying, and Loki and Enchantress have no way off. And Lee, we've got some theories on that. Well, I want to get your take first, though, on this episode.
Yeah, look, I agree with you 100% that it's slammed on the brakes. Like, look, so I always want to say this when we dissect an episode here, I don't want anybody to think I'm complaining about Marvel. I'm just very thankful for these shows, but this is what we do on the show. And I'll say this, Ray, that this is now the third show in a row that, what I dare to say is that it's just disjointed. And I've noticed that about the Marvel writing team. I don't know if they have different people writing different episodes or if it's directorial, but they can become disjointed in the sense of, like you said, the first two episodes felt like a movie. This very much felt like a show, an episodic version of a show. And it was a good episode by itself when you look at it. Like if you think about any other TV show like Star Trek or anything like that, this would be a great episode of Star Trek. And I don't mean that in a funny way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're finding a little bit of, let's just say there's room to grow there for Marvel of kind of streamlining the flow of a TV show or the flow of how they want these to go. Cause it seems like they can't seem to make up their mind between okay, it's an MC movie or no, it's a streaming television show or both.
Right.
Obviously the big part of this episode, the purpose of this episode was character development between Lady Loki and Loki. Yes. That was why they had this episode. I think everything surrounding them is actually not important whatsoever. I think it was just to show the similarities and the differences between the two, which they did, different magic, obviously different gender, but very similar mentality, upbringing, abandoned, adopted, so forth and so on. Both are very much equals, it looks like, in terms of their fighting skill and their magic ability. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like one has the hand up on the other. They both know that. And then, of course, there's the classic Loki, one trying to get the hand up on the other one, but not successfully able to do it. I'm interested to see where that goes. But yeah, look, overall, reflecting on it, not a high rewatchability, but not a bad episode. Ray and I both believe that Morbius is going to just show up at the start of episode 4 and save them and get them out of there. The big things that they talk about, obviously, is that everyone is a variant, as you said. That explains why most of the variants are drinking defunct juices and drinks from probably the time period. Mobius obviously was into jet skis, whatever he was doing in the 90s. So that's going to play itself out sometime in the near future. But Ray, the funny thing about this episode is that once again is kind of don't know where it's going again. And I kind of like that. But yeah, very much, by the way, last thing I'll say, very much getting a Doctor Who vibe now. I mean, this is like, it feels like I'm watching Doctor Who within Marvel. But but not the worst thing I've ever seen, not the best thing I've ever seen. We'll see.
And we said it on Stream Lounge that this episode could end up having more weight later on, depending on what happens in episodes 4 through 6. Tom Hiddleston came out and said episodes 4 and 5 were his favorite episodes of the series.
That'll be good.
So it should be interesting to see why that is.
Well, that probably means that they connect, like heavily connect, right? Yeah. Again, that's the other thing about Marvel, right? They'll do these kind of like 2 episode arcs, and then you'll get an episode like this. And Mandalorian too. This isn't like limited just to Marvel shows, right? Mandalorian will do that. Like you get a 2 episode arc, and then you'll be stranded with a frog lady, and then you'll get another 2 episode arc. It's really interesting, Ray. But I'm liking it. I didn't feel bad at the end of the episode. I was like, you're gonna leave us here and you can leave us hanging, but I get it.
No, exactly. It wasn't it wasn't the worst thing, wasn't the best thing. It just it was what it was. And he obviously
it was episode 3.
It was episode 3. It was heavy character development, and hopefully they start putting the pedal to the metal again, start with episode 4. Speaking of 4, we're of course in phase 4, and Kevin Feige came out and confirmed this week that Fantastic Four will be the final film of this phase, which there's a lot going on there. We know Kang the Conqueror, who's not only the villain of Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, Ant-Man in the Quantumania, but that Kang, of course, is one of the biggest Fantastic Four villains. You also wonder if not only they're going to set up Kang as the big time villain, but much like they did with Thanos, kind of at the end of phase 1, like what it ended up being phase 1, like you've got Doctor Doom. Is Doctor Doom going to be like? Because when I think Fantastic Four, I think Doctor Doom is the main villain. And wouldn't it make a ton of sense if Doctor Doom became the real next big bad? Kang could be the villain driving this particular phase, but Doctor Doom could be, this whole arc or going forward potentially.
Will Marvel make the classic movie mistake or redeem it in a way that it makes sense? Historically, Ray, historically, at this point of a cinematic journey, they will have 2 villains, not 1.
Yeah.
Right? You want reference for this? Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, Wolverine, all of them.
Like
all right?
all of them.
All of them. All right. So why have 1 Thanos when you can have 2 for twice the price? All right. So this is what I think. And again, you got to reference phase 1. Remember that, look, the big baddie at the end of phase 1 was Loki. A lot of people don't remember that. Okay. It wasn't Thanos. He was just unveiled, as you said.
Right.
Loki was the big baddie, right? And they leaned on Asgard to create that. So my theory is that the hurdle that needs to be overcome is the multiverse exploding and going to war. It could be Secret Wars, but that's the problem that needs to be solved.
Right.
To solve that problem, they're going to have to sacrifice something that they shouldn't sacrifice that is in turn going to create a threat.
Right.
I would not be surprised if Kang and Doctor Doom, by the way, Doctor Doom, insanely powerful villain, insanely powerful.
Yes.
He is often not looked upon that way, but he is insanely powerful. Thanos level, if not more.
Yeah, there are alternate storylines where Doctor Doom does conquer the universe.
Right. Okay.
Where he makes it in his image and whatnot, because that's what
I think
he
that
wants.
needs to be said.
He is someone who is both he is one of the few characters in Marvel that has both mastered science and magic.
I think it would be fair to say, Ray, I'm actually going to throw this at you. I think it would be fair to say that among heroes and villains born on Earth, he is the most powerful villain of all time that was born on the planet. Outside, maybe Apocalypse, maybe. But that's been done.
Right.
Even right? But look, I think when it comes to this is I could see both of them coming out. I think the big thing about Fantastic Four, because they haven't cast anybody that we know of in that yet, right?
They haven't announced it. They haven't announced anything.
Okay, so what's going to happen, in my opinion, this is a guess, is you're going to start seeing them sprinkled throughout these movies, right? You're going to see Sue Storm, this Johnny Storm. You're going to see these guys just out of nowhere kind of pop up. Right. And like, again, remember, I still think in WandaVision, they talked about this great astrophysicist and we never saw who it was. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that comes up to play. You know what I mean?
Probably. Maybe not. They kind of did debunk that and say that wasn't the plan. Like the plan
what was the point of it then? Anyway, my point is,
it was. They admit they messed up. They admit that was a red herring. And that was just not. Yeah.
Look, I really believe you're going to start to see these guys show up. Now, what we don't know is how the multiverse is going to play into that. I'm guessing the Fantastic Four is going to be somewhat of an origin. But like, how do you set that up? Is someone going to space at the end? I mean, it doesn't matter. We're talking a few years from now, but I think it's great. And I'm looking forward for the Fantastic Four, the first family. And look, Fantastic Four will lead to the X-Men at some point. There's kind of no way around.
Well, that's the thing, is that this is all building up to that
again
at some point, where towards the end of these next 3 phases, we will have the X-Men fully back in the Marvel universe where they belong. And it's just gonna be interesting to see how they get there, right? Because obviously they're gonna have to finagle some things just because of the way everything worked out legally. So, so a lot of stuff going on with Marvel. Speaking of Disney Plus, and speaking of episodes that connect, on Stream Lounge this week we did Bad Batch. We did Bad Batch episodes 8 and 9, and these episodes, it was actually great that we did episodes 8 and 9 together because they really truly connected very, very well. A couple of big things here. Cad Bane is reintroduced. It's Bane! My God, it's Bane! Of course, I believe it's played greatly by Corey Burton. And then the other big thing is we finally realized why Omega is so special and why the Kaminoans are after her. She is basically
spoiler.
Wait.
We actually have to give a pretty healthy spoiler alert here. Okay. If you are a fan of The Mandalorian and the shows that surround The Mandalorian that are coming out, specifically the Book of Boba Fett, if these are minor spoilers in my opinion, but they are spoilers if you want to go watch Bad Batch to see, because it's obvious now that these universes are going to connect. So sorry, I don't want to accidentally do that, Ray. I know it's a little extra what I'm doing, but if you really want to get this on your own, go watch the Bad Batch and come back to this episode. Okay. But we are going to unveil right now what's going on. Now we're also saving you the time if you don't want to watch it. So either way you win.
Right. Right. Well, the special thing about Omega is that she is basically Boba Fett's twin sister.
So you have a twin sister.
Yeah.
If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will. Sorry, I'm doing the lines from Star Wars. Yeah, that's from Return of the Jedi. That was when Darth Vader was. You know what it's from.
Yeah. Yeah, we all know. We're all good. At least you should know if you're watching us. But yes. So basically, we of course know that Jango wanted to keep one clone for himself to basically have a son, which of course he named Boba, or as they call codename Alpha in the show. Now they get that basically what the Kaminoans call him. Basically, behind Jango's back, they created a second pure clone.
We don't know if that was behind his back or not, to be fair. Most likely.
To be fair, it's most likely behind his back. We don't know for sure, but I'm assuming it's behind his back because it feels like the Kaminoans wanted to keep a pure sample of his DNA in case for whatever reason they needed to remake an army or whatever. Because there also seems to be some major. I think one of the big things we're going to get from Bad Batch is what happens really to the Kaminoans. As I think my camera just died.
I can still hear
froze.
you. Yeah. There you go.
You can still hear me, which is good.
There you go. You're back.
There we go. Back again. Sorry about that. Little hiccup there.
Caitlin edited that out of the show.
Yeah. So it's fine. The Kaminoans. We're gonna find out. I think what happens to the Kaminoans and their relationship with the new Empire. I forgot. Every time I hit the camera cable, it just automatically shuts off. But yeah, basically. I think you're going to see what happens to that relationship because the Kaminoans completely, you don't have to, Caitlin, don't worry about it. The Kaminoans completely disappear. They're not around in the new trilogy, right? They're not around in post Return of the Jedi. And I think the Bad Batch is really going to explain not only how we get to, and it is how we're getting the full Stormtrooper army and away from clones, but no, Caitlin, you don't have to. It's fine. And basically what ended up happening is what happens to Kaminoans? I think they're going to get wiped out. I think we're going to get that in the Bad Batch.
Here's the real connection point is how does the Empire learn to clone, right? What happens to the Empire that they learn to clone? Because obviously we know this from The Mandalorian and we know this from The Last Jedi that they have cloning technologies and Rise of Skywalker as well. So they obviously have overtaken the Kaminoans and learn how to do the process. So that's going to be part of this as well. Ray, I agree with you that they're going to show how the Empire takes over that. Most likely, if it's the Empire, they enslave them, they put them on other planets, and they steal everything that they have. And that's how that works. Yeah. But yes, Boba Fett has a twin sister. I fully expect that to come back in Book of Boba Fett. I think that's why they're showing that to us now. The question I had, is it going to be a known character that we are going to get like a helmet reveal and then it's Omega, or is it going to be a new character? We'll find out. It's interesting. Very different paths. How are they going to
for sure.
Is Boba Fett going to show up in Bad Batch? That's another possibility.
I mean, that's the thing too, is that's a possibility. Also, it's going to be interesting to see if I want to see, and actually I was just thinking about this. I wonder if she is a true clone, if she is a true twin, or she might be younger than Boba. Like they might have taken that, they might have taken that DNA and like started to incubate her after Clone Wars and all that other stuff.
We figure she's about 10 to 12, right?
Right.
And this show takes place, that doesn't, she has to be the same age, because if you figure that this is just days after Revenge of the Sith, right? Boba was about 7 or 8 in Attack of the Clones. Maybe, right? Okay. So like, and it's a couple years after that, right? So like, my guess is they're the same age.
Okay. That's a fair point. The other thing that they're doing is they're also redoing a lot of Fennec Shand backstory here in Bad Batch, which now of course also brings up the fact in Book of Boba Fett, which in the expanded universe, one of the people who teaches Boba how to be such a good bounty hunter, because he was such good friends with Jango supposedly, is Cad Bane. Will we get Cad Bane in live action? That's a possibility now as well, now that we know that he's palling around here, kicking around with, chasing after Omega. Because the other big thing about the story is that basically there's a couple of different Kaminoans who have sent bounty hunters after Omega for different reasons. The Prime Minister of Kamino wants to just get her DNA back, just kill her, whatever, get her back. The person who seems to have raised Omega, the Kaminoan, wants her back to save her, obviously. So she hired Fennec Shan. So you've got multiple factions here trying to vie for Omega, which is an interesting subplot.
Well, the cool one you're bringing up too is that, the Book of Boba Fett, we talked about this on the stream, right? The Book of Boba Fett now, we're starting to think that's probably going to be about him unifying the bounty hunters, right? What would he do? What would he do now that he's in Jabba's place? You get bounty hunters. So I could see that being a live action bounty hunter show. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right, so moving on to guys who clearly know what they're doing in Favreau and Filoni, especially with all of this, to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. This was an interesting story that broke a couple days ago in wrestling. I want to touch upon this just because, and even if you're not following wrestling, you're following WWE or whatnot right now, this was an interesting story. It basically came out. Kenice Mobley is a writer right now for WWE, and she basically admitted on air that she and a lot of people who write for WWE right now don't know the first thing about wrestling. And when I heard this, my gut reaction was, this is why your show sucks so much right now. Not to say it's a bad thing having sometimes outside perspectives on a possibly stale product to try and liven things up. But especially with wrestling and long-term fans of wrestling who there's certain things you expect from wrestling. You can now understand why it feels like WWE it's been a stretch for so much stuff, and how so much stuff has just kind of like gone off the rails. And while there's some decent storylines going on right now in WWE, it's also part of the reason why AEW is eating their lunch right now.
Right. Totally.
And absolutely dominating. Like you have lifers for wrestling running AEW, or at least hardcore fans. And then WWE has a bunch of people who are, in my opinion, might be great writers, but might not be great wrestling writers. And it seems to be a huge thing there. So there's obviously been a lot of blowback. The WWE, like supposedly internally, is on damage control. They're hugely embarrassed that Kenice came out and said all this.
Why did she do that? Explain that context of that to me.
She was on a podcast and she was like, she's her before going to WWE, she was a stand-up comedian. Right. And look, there's been people like who have other walks of life who have gone into WWE. Like Freddie Prinze Jr. is probably one of the most famous people who obviously was an actor and this other stuff, and then went to go write for WWE. But Freddie Prinze Jr. is also a diehard wrestling fan.
Right.
So it was kind of interesting for him to do his, and he had some great storylines in the mid 2000s. Especially he worked a lot with Jeff Hardy, really kind of helped him on his singles run. Like there's a precedence for wrestling outsiders coming in and helping a wrestling product. But at the very least, they're wrestling fans, right? They know what they want. They know what fans want because they themselves are familiar with the product and grew up with the product. It sounds like Kenice Mobley went to do this for a paycheck. I'd also like to put out there, WWE, I am available to come and help your writing room. I would like to put that out there because it really sure does seem like you guys need it. Especially I watched SmackDown again on Friday, and it's almost unwatchable. Honestly, I was out of queue. There was nothing else on. I was flipping through the channels. I watched it for a half hour, and I was done with it. Like I couldn't get through the 2-hour show. So yeah, Lee, what are your thoughts on this WWE debacle?
Yeah, I've got a few. One is I think this happens a lot more often than people realize. In this situation that it just got out. I remember when I was working at the NHL, Ray. A lot of non-hockey fans working at the NHL. And why? Yeah. Why? How could they do that? It's a job, and they're hiring people for a job. And whether we like it or not, I certainly don't like it. Being a hockey fan or being a wrestling fan is not a prerequisite to be qualified for something. At least you think it would be, but it's true. It's not the way it is, right? Now that's
same with me at DC. When I was at DC,
right,
actually, a lot of people who did not like comics. Yeah,
right. So this is more common than you probably think. I think a lot of fans don't know that. That's why you get the uproar. All right, but like, how many people at your job are not really qualified to do your job? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the baseline for it. The other thing I'll say is that it's not her fault. It's not Kenice's fault. It's whoever hired her.
It's not her. No.
Right. So so that's really where if the uproar should be who made the decision to do this and why. Maybe there was a good reason. Maybe she's an associate writer that works with the main writers that do know everything. Probably not. But like you said, an outside perspective is good. But I think you hit the nail on the head is that AEW is using traditional WWE, WWF writing, and that's why fans love it. It's something familiar, and WWE is trying to go in a new direction. And I'll say, look, the jury's out on whether or not it's going to work. It's not there now, but change is inevitable in a lot of things. I mean, it's not like you have a major sports league that doesn't change the rules and just has the same crap over and over and over and over and over and over again. Baseball. Anyway, but yeah, no, it happens more often than you think. And like, don't just the fans, don't get on her about it. Don't beat her up. You know what I mean? Like, that's not fair.
No, that is a fair point. Yeah, it's not her fault. She applied for a job and she got the job.
She got it. Yeah, she's doing it. She's doing it the best of her ability. It sounds like. So
yeah. So yeah, no, and that too. It is curious to see what's going on with WWE. They released a whole slew of wrestlers again this week, which was really curious, including some of their best people behind the scenes. Like a lot of people might not appreciate what Tyler Breeze and Fandango did and their gimmick, which it wasn't great, but like behind the scenes, supposedly they're great character guys. They help a lot of the youngsters with training. And sometimes that's what happens. A lot of these guys who don't get big pushes in front of the camera or whatever, for whatever reason from Vince, end up becoming like really integral to the behind the scenes aspect of wrestling and training. And for them to let those guys go, especially Breeze in particular, more than Fandango, was very surprising and very, very curious with that. Speaking of things that were surprising releases, Cyberpunk is back in the news as they were added back to the PlayStation Store this
very
week.
Quietly.
Yes. And PlayStation basically put out a disclaimer saying, if you're still on the Gen 1 PS4, the game is still not playable for you. Try to play the game on PS5. Which is true. I played it on PS5 and it wasn't great, but it was playable. It sounds like this was a game that was not intended for previous gen. Should never have been on previous gen.
Never should have done that.
And it was a really, like you said, desperation move to try and maximize sales, and instead cost the company millions upon millions of
Horrible
dollars.
Leadership with that decision.
Yeah, and an absolute disaster for CD Projekt Red. But if you're still curious, and you are a Sony person, and at this point you have a PS5, because it has been several months now, and there's a lot more PS5s out there than there once was, Cyberpunk's available. I'll say this, it was very forgettable.
I was just to say, Ray, you had a ranking of it that wasn't too favorable either.
No, I played it. I got through it. I think it took me like 40 hours.
Yeah, what I remember you telling me is that there's characters you really like and then they just disappear. And it's just like, thanks, guys.
Yeah, just really terrible character development, really poor. Like, if you love Witcher, you can't help but be disappointed by this.
Right.
A lot of unfinished ideas and a lot of things that just don't come to fruition, which was really, really surprising. Really, really sad considering this game's been in development for like 8 years. So, so this was a miss. Speaking of video game misses, Mario Golf Super Rush also came out this last Friday from Nintendo. This game was very highly anticipated. Of course, this is, I think, like the 4th or 5th in the Mario Golf series. The first one stayed debuting back in the Game Boy, where it wasn't called Mario Golf, it was just called Golf, but Mario was your player. So
I had that game.
Yeah. So it came out this week, and there's some interesting ideas. They add a story mode, which is kind of weird. And there's like this weird element where it's like, all right, you're winning golf tournaments. Now we're going to send you on a quest. You have to go find this power of flame. And it's like, what? Wait, what? And like, there's like a battle mechanic where you have to like use lob shots on enemy projectiles and like kind of like Legend of Zelda and like bounce it back towards the enemy with like your golf clubs. And I'm just like, this is weird, man. This is like, I just wanted a golf game. Like, I just wanted like Super Mario Sluggers, but like with golf. And you get elements of that, especially online. I'll say this. The game is actually fun playing against others online.
Right. That's exactly what it is, though, in my opinion. Yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah, when you're playing, but the fact that you have a story mode, like the fact that you have all this other side stuff, they've added new other battle modes. They're not fun. Running after, chasing your ball, and all this other stuff. That's the Super Rush part, is where you actually have to run after your ball. It's not fun. It's not fun at all, actually. Like the core of it, just playing golf with powers on a golf course where like Mario gets a superstar, he can hit it extra far. Charging Chuck can turn the golf ball into a football, and he throws it. When it lands, it explodes. Like, there's different things for different characters. That was fun. the other stuff, all this miscellaneous, extraneous stuff that they felt like they kind of like pump this game up to try and like, I guess, make it more bang for your buck for $60. None of it worked. None of it worked.
Let me ask some questions, right? So, okay, is there just a basic golf mode where you can play Mario Golf?
Yes.
All right, so that's good. My question for you is this. I never looked at this game as something I would play on my own, right? So like when I looked at the Rush Golf, that's something I want to play with other people in the room or online. Like I can see how by yourself that would be completely horrible and boring. But like most Mario games outside the main storylines, I never looked at this game as something I would play by myself. I looked at it as something, unless I was just playing the golf mode. This is something you play with other people, right? Like that makes it fun, as you just said. So I'm not going to say you're playing it wrong or anything like that, but I will say that like I don't think that's a game you can play without other people in the room, or at least other people online, to make it fun. That's how I viewed it when it came out.
No, for sure. But again, I think that's part of the issue with like the idea of them like touting things like story mode. Like story mode is clearly
I don't get
a
that.
first player, a one player mode.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The story mode doesn't make much sense to me. But I'm saying the rush part and like that seems like a game you'd want to play with other people. Like that's the whole key.
No, for sure. I mean, and that's kind of why like I'm sitting at like a 6.5, because it's like it's not broken. It's just bloated in a weird way.
Sure.
Like I would have scaled it back and sold it for $40 instead of trying to get people to get this for 60 with all this stuff that wasn't necessary. Because story mode is also completely frustrating. They have like these ridiculous stipulations.
Like I said, I don't get story mode. All I saw was a golf game, a golf sim if I want it, and a game with other people. It's like Mario Kart, man. Like Mario Kart is more fun and frustrating when you play it with other people. Like it's not a game you play on your own. You know, like I don't ever sit down and play Mario Kart just by myself.
But the thing is, I can still have a decent time playing Mario Kart by myself.
Sure.
This, I don't think you can have a good time by yourself at all.
I
still enjoy Mario. I still enjoy Mario Kart by myself. This much like Mario Party, I think needs other people, whether it's online or local.
Right. Well, and that's the key though, right? So but let me ask you this. Would you give it, if it was an only online, only, co-op or play together type game, play against people, if that was it, would you have given it a higher ranking? If it was touted that way?
I mean, I think if it was touted that way, and I think if it was, priced appropriately for that, I think that for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
I'm just trying to get clear expectations here. Yeah.
My feeling is that they threw in a lot of this miscellaneous stuff to justify the $60 price tag.
Right. I hear you.
That's what it feels like to me. And the stuff doesn't.
Story mode doesn't make sense.
So. No, the story mode was a disaster. There's this one mode. It's called called cross country mode, where they have like 6 holes. And you have like 30 shots to sink 6 holes. So you get to these different greens. They're all right after another, but they're different elevations. But the game doesn't teach you the lob shot, which allows you to lift the ball much higher, and doesn't allow you to use that in story mode until much later in story mode. So then you're relying on these well-placed tornadoes that are sitting around the course. Again, it's Mario Kart golf ridiculousness, right? Which is fine, but it is so frustrating because it is so inaccurate in a way. And I'll get the ball in the tornado, but the tornado will throw it I want it to go right, it'll go left. And it's like, well, why are you? The tornado should put it where I want it to go. Like, why are you? So there's a lot of.
Well, I'll say this then. First off, story modes never work in sports games. Let's just say that.
Very rare.
Yeah, I don't remember a great sports game that had a great story mode that I was like, oh, this is awesome. Right? You know what I mean? Yeah. So
occasionally at 2K, NBA 2K, I think the first time Madden did. I can't think of the name of the mode. Yeah, the story mode for Madden, where you're that kid coming out of that.
Wasn't something like that?
I don't remember. The first time they did that where you play that kid coming out of high school and then a chance at the combine, and it's like, you try and get like a 4th string quarterback kind of thing. Like, the first time, occasionally you can have a good story mode in a sports game. Occasionally, this is a time where it's just like this, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts. Speaking of other things that don't work, PAX West has announced that they are going through. They are going to have a convention September 3rd through September 6th up at the Washington State Convention Center up in Seattle. They're going to have limited capacity. From what I heard, it's going to be about a third of what they typically let in. This is a big deal. This is our first first COVID era convention. Post-COVID, I don't want to say post-COVID because we're still dealing with it, but first COVID era convention in person since this all started. But there's been a lot of backlash in the gaming community because, and this is one of those things where you just can't make everybody happy. And I really want to get people's take on this because it is an interesting thing. They are requiring you wear your mask at all times at the Washington State Convention Center, but they are not requiring you to be vaccinated. And it feels like one of those weird in-between steps again. I understand the need for safety, but if you really are that concerned with safety, you would probably just demand people have to be vaccinated like any other government-owned or government-run building or whatever, right? Like, I mean, a convention center is owned by the local government. At the same time, if you're vaccinated, you shouldn't need to wear your mask as much. And it's one of those things where, again, I get there's different sets of rules for different. It's just really weird and confusing. I know there's a lot of folks who don't want to go because they don't feel safe still being around people who aren't vaccinated. I don't want to go because I don't want to have to wear. I'm vaccinated. I don't have to wear a mask for 12-hour days inside the convention center. Like I got vaccinated, so I don't have to wear my mask anymore. Lee, I want to get your thoughts on this because we're discussing possibly going to PAX. I know even my company at Boss Team Games, we're still discussing this internally because we don't know. There's still everybody's kind of on the fence because it feels like PAX kind of gave this like wishy-washy mishmash, like
look, Ray,
in between. This
is what I think. I think they know that by the time PAX rolls around, regulations, things might be very different, and they know they can change that at the last minute. That's why I said they're getting a little bit of both here, right? Because they don't want you not to go as a fan. So I think those regulations or whatever they're going to do is going to change. I really highly doubt that by the time that rolls around, it's still going to be exactly what you're saying. A few things too. One is that, JJ Seggs, I guess, says in there that the Mets don't force anybody to wear a mask. Well, that's because at Citi Field, you're outside. So it's a big
an outdoor
part of it.
stadium.
Yeah. So PAX is mostly indoor unless they're going to change that. It's like 99% indoor. So that might have something to do with it. When it comes to the vaccination, look, every business has to make their own determination on how they want to do that. I don't know what the COVID rates are in Seattle, Washington. I do know they'll be different when this rolls around. The other thing too is that, like, look, we're not going to debate this on the show, but there are people that are still uncomfortable getting vaccinated for a variety of different reasons, whether I agree with that or not. That's their right to make the choice, right? It's not government mandated that you get vaccinated. But a business can decide whether or not they want you in their facility. So I think what they're doing is just putting up, here's some rules. We'll revisit this in September, and we'll make a decision whether or not we want to go forward with the masks or without the masks. Keeping in mind too, look, here's a stat, Ray. I don't know if you know. I think last month, all COVID-related deaths in the United States, all of them, 100% were unvaccinated people.
Yeah.
So it's actually the vaccinated are not at a high risk. It's the unvaccinated that really would be running the risk by being there.
Right.
In my opinion, I mean, anything's possible.
Right.
But that's the thing is, like, I would actually reverse and say, if you're unvaccinated, you shouldn't be going to a convention. All right. Even though it's unlikely,
especially PAX.
Yeah.
Especially PAX, which, by the way, is infamous for the diseases that get spread there.
Right. Not great.
Even at a third capacity, it's called the PAX Pox for a reason. But that's the thing. I think you're taking it's up to you, I guess, and I guess this is their way of not giving people the choice. But I think that's part of the reason. Like, if you really care, I think that's why you should kind of be like, no, you have to be vaccinated to be here, because, like you said, everybody who's been getting sick and dying of this now the last 6 weeks have been the unvaccinated. I think it's like worldwide. I think it's like 99.2% of the cases and deaths now are unvaccinated.
Here's another stat too. Like COVID positive cases are routinely below 10,000 a day now. I think I saw
it's very, very low. Yeah.
So by September, man, it might not even be a real threat anymore.
It might not be an issue. That's true.
Yeah,
even more reason why I don't want to wear.
Might be more of a issue at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Well, again, that's more the reason why if I get there, I really don't want to have to wear a mask.
Like I'd be surprised if when we get close to September, I'd be shocked if it's the same regulations.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how this.
I hope we get to go. I really do. I hope we get to.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's a brave new world. We're all kind of trying to figure it out, and I think these guys are trying to figure it out too. I just don't think that. I don't know if this is the right way, but like you said, it could change. JJ asks in chat, "What's PAX?" PAX is Penny Arcade Expo. It's one of the biggest independent video game conventions. They do one in Seattle and they do one in Boston every year. They do PAX East and PAX West. They've also got PAX Australia. They have PAX South in San Antonio now. They have PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia, which is just board games, but it's a massive gaming convention. JJ, we went a couple years ago to check out that episode. It was actually
last year
episode
too.
2021. We did an episode online. That's right. But we did the one live in episode 21 of Geeks Who Like Sports, which was fantastic. Live there at the Seattle Convention Center or Washington State Convention Center in Seattle. And yeah, it's just one of those things where, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. JJ, you say you're embarrassed to be a Mets fan. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if I was a Mets fan, I'd be embarrassed all the time too. No, sorry, buddy. It was an easy shot. It looks like, yeah, you guys are losing right now to the Phillies as we're talking live here. It looks like you're about to split with the Phils. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Yankees are about to get split up by the Red Sox. So if it makes you feel any better, JJ, we're not doing much better over there. I'm giving you a live score update here if you're here with Twitch. Of course, this is well after the fact if you're listening to the podcast later on. But speaking of COVID, we're moving now into the sports section. And
speaking of COVID,
yeah,
been speaking about COVID all year. And I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, this was another big story, but this is going to lead us into our NCAA section. But the NCAA College World Series, this was kind of sad. NC State, who were basically in the College World Series semifinal, had a do-or-die, supposed to be playing a do-or-die game against Vanderbilt today to advance to the College World Series final against Mississippi State. And they're forced to go home. It's been called a no contest because NC State had a really bad breakout of COVID. Most of their team, I believe, has it, or like at least half. I know in game 2 of that series against Vanderbilt, they fielded basically half a team. Only 2 guys were playing their regular position. A lot of guys out of position just to get a team out there. And now supposedly it's spread worse. A lot of folks are blaming the NCAA, but this isn't on the NCAA.
Look in the mirror, I think situation.
Yeah. This is like the NCAA this is how they had to react. Like, I mean, you have a massive outbreak of COVID within one locker room. Because the more I learned about this, and I will say this, the NCAA does need to be more transparent about this. They need to be out about the testing and also this stuff. They need to be more transparent. And them tweeting at 2:15 in the morning that they're going to just cancel the NC State versus Vanderbilt game, that is a bad look. There's no denying that is a terrible, terrible look. But if NC State doesn't have enough players to field the team because of a COVID outbreak, they're kind of put between a rock and a hard place. And this is as much on NC State for letting the outbreak happen. Again, we're going back to vaccinate. It's your choice not to be vaccinated.
Where did you guys go? Where did you guys go that you got COVID?
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like this is the fact that no other team is having this COVID outbreak.
Yeah,
this is as much on NC.
Yeah, it's possible they went to a restaurant, but look, man, we said this a couple episodes. Now is not the time to be stupid. These are college kids. I'm really not pointing it's not the whole team. It could have been one person, but if someone went someplace they weren't supposed to go, this is how COVID works.
Yeah, I mean, and it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking that this is how their season ends, and that the seniors they took this heartbreaking photo at 3 a.m. that's gone viral on the field as a team, like. Probably the last time, but JJ's probably went to a club. You're right. The seniors maybe went to a club or something. But again, this is one of those things where, look, we're very pro-vaccination here. It's your choice not to get vaccinated or not. But if you're not going to get vaccinated, there's going to possibly be repercussions for your actions.
Yeah, keep in mind, you can still get COVID if you are vaccinated. It's just not going to be as severe. But look, my point is, it's still out there. Like again, man, especially in this country, we have this ability to be like, oh, it's done. We're done. Like, that's not how it works. Okay. It's not done when we say it's done. It's done whenever it's done. So like we said this before, things are much better. Things are going the right direction. We're kicking this thing's ass. It's awesome. It's still out there. War's not over yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and again, it's if you're gonna do stupid things, there's gonna be repercussions for your actions.
Stupid things get stupid prizes.
Simple. Yeah. So, so moving. So that's that. Again, it's a sad state over there for NC State and them. So, but speaking of the NCAA, this was a big deal. This is a big deal on a lot of fronts. I don't remember the last time the Supreme Court ruled unanimously on anything in my life. Like, I couldn't tell you, but everybody, it has happened, but I can't remember the last time it happened. The Supreme Court ruled on lifting the NCAA cap on education-related expenses for athletes. And this does not mean that they can profit off their likeness or anything like that. Although this does seem to be the first step in that process. Those of you who, of course, remember, the reason why we no longer have NCAA football as a video game is because for many years they weren't allowed to use the players' likenesses, and there was this massive lawsuit by former players, and rightfully so. And EA has admitted that, like, we knew what we were doing, we were skirting along the rules as much as we could to make the best game possible, hoping that the NCAA would come to their senses. And they said it. There's actually, what's up, Peter? As jumping into chat here, as jumping into every year, EA Sports will go to the NCAA and be like, can we use the players' names and likenesses at this point? Even to the point where in the final game, they had the broadcasters say everybody's name. So if you changed it and create a player, you could actually have the broadcasters say Tim Tebow or whoever else was in the game. So I mean, it was, trust me, a lot of people like to blame EA for this. It wasn't EA's fault. It was the NCAA. And the fact that this is happening, this is a huge step, because now it means that the schools and they can get laptops, travel, food. All this stuff is no longer exempt from the players being gifted if it falls under the education things. And it's only a matter of time now before we get to the point where, you can make money off your autograph. You can make money off your jerseys. You can make money off your likeness in a video game, because that's the way it should be. These guys should not be exempt just because they're student athletes. So this was a landmark decision. Actually, Brett Kavanaugh gave it a terrific opinion on this. Absolutely tore the NCAA apart.
Was scathing and accurate, and it was well written.
Yeah,
Justice Kavanaugh.
Absolutely tremendous. But yeah, this is freaking fantastic. Screw the NCAA. Lee, what are your thoughts?
I'll give semi-quotes from Kavanaugh's dissent, which was, again, fantastic. Basically saying the NCAA will no longer act like they are not funding multi-billion-dollar facilities in schools and coaches' salaries on the backs of their players. They are not the exception. I think he also said in his dissent, if I'm not mistaken, he might not have, that the NCAA athletes, this is the minor leagues, and it's obvious, right? Yeah. That no longer this will happen. It is a tragedy the way the NCAA has treated its athletes over the last however many years. And like you said, Ray, it's never been about education. We got to start treating it like what it is. It is the minor leagues for basketball and football specifically, and some other sports, baseball too. And it's time that these athletes are able to make money on their skill. The problem that I've always had, and this is the one that people don't talk about, is I'm not talking about the guys that go to college and play 1 year of ball and they make it to the NBA, or a few years of college football, they make it to the NFL and they get these multi-million-dollar deals. I'm not talking about that. Same thing with hockey. What I'm talking about is the senior at Alabama who played 4 years, made his school a lot of money, breaks his leg the last game and his career ends, and he's got to work at a bank. Or the athlete that maybe isn't great enough, but he's good enough to play in college, and he doesn't have a NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB career waiting for him. This is wrong. And it's wrong because of the facilities that these schools build. It's wrong because of the way the coaches are paid. I mean, I forgot what school it is, but one of these school has a lazy pool, like on their campus. Like I didn't have a lazy pool when I was in undergrad. Like it's excessive. It's capitalism gone wrong. And I am a capitalist, friends. I am a big capitalist. Ray will tell you that. But capitalism to me was I can provide people with jobs. I can create opportunities for other people. I can give back to society with products, services that I've created and rendered. It's not getting me all the money.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's not about getting me all the money, making me the richest person in the world and building a house that has a grotto and a lazy pool. That's not what it is to me.
Yeah.
All right. And the schools have completely mutilated capitalism for themselves. And I think this is phenomenal. It will set it on the right track. There is so much money there that it should be shared. And like you said, even the gifts, like you said it perfectly, laptops, a drink at the food court. These are things that get you kicked out of the NCAA. And it was always a money game. It's that if we bend the rule, we're going to have to, someone's going to break it and we'll have to give the money back to the players. So NCAA, you deserve this. You do. You deserve what's happening and things are going to be better for college athletes moving forward.
Yep. You've kicked the can on this for long enough. And you should be, I mean, honestly, you should be thankful you got away with it for this long, because honestly, if it was up to me, you'd have been paying them years ago, especially the second you started messing with video games. That would have been the end of you. But again, going to Lee's point again, this all started with Sam Keller. This is a perfect example. Going to Lee's point, he was the quarterback who broke his hand for University of Arizona, University of Nebraska. Guy was going to probably be a first-round draft pick. He was never the same. It was his throwing hand that he broke. It was never the same. And he's the one who started this because he's living a modest life now in Arizona as an insurance salesman or whatever. And he's like, I made these schools millions. And my junior year, I broke my hand and broke my thumb and needed surgery. And then actually he said, the reason why he's like, then they cut me. They benched me my senior year, even though I had healed. And my career was basically over when they benched me. I was untouched. I was it. I was done. Like, this was a guy who was this close. He was going to be probably a first-round draft pick if he didn't break his hand and his junior year. And his whole life got turned upside down. And he what did he get for it? Nothing. So, So
got
the NCAA.
Sport. That's what he got. His name's forever going to be in every law book and sports law course for the rest of mankind. That's what.
Yep. Yep. That's his legacy. So
and there's other people. I'm actually, what's funny, Ray, is my camera's actually sitting on my sports law book, which I've read, and there's a lot of guys like that in there.
Nice. Oh goodness. So
yes, I've studied sports law. Yes, people, I did. It was a very boring but fun class.
Moving on now to the NBA and NHL playoffs, which of course are going on here now. Not much. Actually, also real quick, by the way, speaking of the NCAA real quick, they are very close to expanding the college football playoff. They're having a vote on that to expand it from 4 to 12 teams after the success of the 4-team playoff.
How about that? People liked it.
Yeah, people like
a ranking. Amazing.
Yeah, they don't want like a subjective ranking system. They want objective. This team beat this team, so they're better.
Amazing.
And now speaking of playoffs, now we're going to start things with JJ's on board for that. I'm on board for it too, of course. JJ's also go Notre Dame. Yeah, hopefully that'll help. I don't know. Might not. The Irish have been one of the other teams that have benefited from the 4-team playoff. So yeah, probably won't we continue to benefit from a 12-team playoff. But moving into the playoffs now, the NHL, of course, we have our Stanley Cup final set. The Tampa Bay Lightning, not that much of a surprise. A thrilling Game 7 against the Islanders, a 1-0 game. It came down. I mean, if 4 goals was a shorthanded goal by Tampa Bay that ended up being the game winner. Tampa Bay, this is just a team that, they've been there before. They know how to win. They're clicking at the right time. And yeah, they deserved it. It was a tough series.
Either team deserved it. I'll say that. Either team could have gone.
Yeah.
That's how it happens sometimes. In fact, Islander fans are going to talk about you in a minute, but I'll say this, that in 2004, it was the same scenario. Philadelphia Flyers win Game 6 in overtime with a goal by Simone Gagne, only to lose 1-0 in Game 7 to send the Lightning to the Stanley Cup final, where they won and beat the Calgary Flames that year. This is a little bit of different teams, but look, it was a great series. The teams looked exhausted. A 1-goal game in Game 7 can go either way. Islander fans, you are being the most Islander fans about this, if you know what I'm trying to say, Ray. It's just like you guys are so hot and cold on your team when they win or lose. And it's like, guys, that was a hell of a run. You came within one goal of the cup final. You're not the first team to have done that. It's very painful. It's very hard. Stop getting on your team about it. Oh, they played horrible in Game 7. No, they didn't. Okay, it wasn't their best game. It wasn't Tampa's best game either. They look exhausted, and so did Tampa. It was a 1-goal game. It was a great year for the Islanders. I love the Islanders as a hockey team. Their fan base gets on my nerves sometimes. I'm not going to lie to you. Just the hot and coldness. It's like, dude, you're not going to win every game you play. Okay? I know that. And no, I'm not saying Philly's any better. I'm not talking about Philly, though. I'm talking about you. That was a great season. You had a great coach. You had a great team. You were shorthanded. You didn't have Anders Lee captaining your team.
Yeah.
Next year, you fight again. It is very hard to win a championship in professional sports. It is much harder than you think. Everybody, when I say that, oh, of course it's hard. One team wins. It's never in your favor. Yeah. It's insanely hard to win. You can't kill your team when they don't win. I'll tell you this. The 4 teams in the conference finals, if that's what we're calling them, each one of them could have been in the cup final. But someone has to win. All right? Yeah. And only one of them is going to go all the way. It's hard to do. Yeah.
Well, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens now because as JJ pointed out in chat, a team that if it was a normal season would not have even made the playoffs. But because of the weird Canadian alignment and Carey Price is literally they're getting some timely scoring as well, of course. But Carey Price is literally carrying this team almost single-handedly.
Well, the team's stepping up too now, man. Like, the first 2 rounds were absolutely Price, but the team is starting to believe now. The team is starting to score. Cole Caulfield, rookie, American, Team USA, going nuts out there. Nick Suzuki, who was traded by Vegas to Montreal, killing them, right? Shea Weber looks completely reborn as captain of that team after a really questionable trade by Nashville to put him there. That team is really clicking on all cylinders now, and they are playing together. So, Ray, completely agree with you. Carey Price carried that team through the first 2 rounds, and he played phenomenal in the 3rd round. But now the team is stepping up. They are a Stanley Cup contender, not just in name now. I mean, they look like a Stanley Cup contender. It just goes to prove to you that in any given night, the NHL has the best parity in professional sports. The best. There's not another league that's close to the NHL. Maybe the NFL is closer. NHL has the best parity in the entire league of sports. And I'll tell you what, any team, if they're feeling it, they're playing right, they're clicking, and you're getting these inhumane performances, can go to the cup final. I obviously, with looking at it, Tampa Bay is the favorite to win that final, probably by a lot. But I've been watching hockey a long time. Don't be looking for a sweep. If you get to the dance, you're going to dance. And I have no idea how this series is going to go because there's 2 very weird situations where you have 2 Eastern Conference teams. They have not seen each other yet this year. So good luck.
No, it's going to be interesting. I'm probably not going to watch because I hate both these teams. And I hate their fan bases, honestly.
Sure.
So it's going to be super annoying no matter who wins. The only team I could actually tolerate still that was in the Final 4 was Vegas. And of course, they let me down again.
Yeah, they had a tough way. Like I said this, I think last week that they benched Fleury for Lehner. Now these 2 are good friends. Lehner's
questionable.
Lehner's a very capable goalie. I think people misunderstood me because I'm not anti-Lehner. Leonard, excuse me. What I said was that you're creating a goalie controversy halfway through a conference final with a goalie that's known to bounce back after having a bad performance. And I was right. I was right about this. They could not recover from that. And it wasn't the goaltending. It was just it shook the team up in the wrong way. JJ also says, if only the Leafs have won Game 7. JJ, that is the entire history of the Leafs organization since 1967, what you just said. But, look, man, the teams that are in the finals deserve to be there. They won. You have a massive underdog against literally last year's champion. They both have something to play for. Montreal hasn't won anything since 1993. This is Carey Price's probably last chance of winning. You got a great young core there. On the other side, you got Tampa Bay, who wants to prove that they were not a fluke last year in the bubble. They want to win in front of their fans. They want to win this for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, who has unbelievably become the championship city of America over the last year. I think this is their 4th trip to a final now.
Yeah, I mean,
months. I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think in 12 months, they've had 4 teams make it to a championship, including the Lightning, because we're still within that time period. So that's incredible. Yeah. The Lightning, the Rays, the Bucks, and the Lightning, within 12 months, they've had 4 championship appearances. That makes them title town right now. That's incredible.
Yeah. No, it's true. It is true. And honestly, I think that if I had to pick or choose, I probably would pick Tampa Bay to win just because I
gun to the head. I mean, you have to, right? Like, you have to. Like anybody picking Montreal to win is just trying to look great after it's over if they win.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's the thing too. I mean, of course, obviously Montreal's going to root for their team. But one of the most annoying fan bases is the Canadian fan base. So I'm really hoping Tampa wins just so I don't have to hear them at all.
Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah. Look, I'm just hoping for great hockey and a great final. I hope it goes 7 games. And like I said, I have no hat in this fight, right? I always say I call it a happy final. There's 2 types of happy finals, right? Mm-hmm. Happy finals are where the 2 teams are in there that I don't care who wins because I'm happy for either of them if they win. Then the polar opposite of that is there's 2 teams that I don't particularly like, but I don't care who wins. So I don't care who wins here. I just want great hockey. And if Tampa Bay or Montreal wins, I'll be happy for those organizations and those teams. Tampa Bay has really made hockey work in Florida, unlike the other team in Florida. And Montreal is the oldest team in the league. Ray secretly doesn't want them to win because he doesn't want anybody getting close to the Yankees win record in championships. This would be, I think, number 25 for him. 24 or 25.
24, I think 24 for Montreal.
I think it would be 24. Yeah. You're 28.
I mean, he's at 27.
The truth has been unveiled, ladies and gentlemen. Ray, yeah. That's why Ray doesn't want them. To be fair, Ray, this would be Tampa's 3rd cup. It would be Montreal's 24th. So may the best team win. I really mean that.
Yeah. So go Lightning. I guess go Lightning in this case. But yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at this point. I'm hoping for a sweep so the season's over and I can start looking ahead to the next season with the Rangers.
If you're not watching, why do you need a sweep? It's not going to make anything come quicker.
No, then we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Oh, it's horrible. Done. We're going to talk about it whether that happens or not. There you go.
Yeah.
It's gold.
But
get your leg in that
fight. Speaking of coaches, the Kraken have hired their first coach in the team's history. And already it looks like they've made a mistake. Lee, what are your thoughts on the Kraken coach?
I haven't made it a secret. I am not vocally critical of coaches, but I did not like the way Dave Hackstall coached the Philadelphia Flyers when he was here. The Seattle Kraken have hired him as their head coach. I've said this before, coaches can change. He's probably learned a lot by being here. He might be very different. He's very mild-mannered. He's the type of coach that after a loss, he'll say the team played well. After a win, he'll see the team played well. He's just one of those guys of just kind of a happy clapper. And that's not what I think you need to win. But look, with that said, he's going to get a brand new roster. I think the key with a coach of a team like that is you got to be able to bring that team together and make him believe in something. On paper, from what I've seen, he's not that guy, but maybe he is. He must have said something in that interview that got him to do it. There's a lot of coaches available right now. So I know why they didn't try to sign Tortorella, because they want the players to like playing there. Yeah. JJ says, he missed on Tocchet. That's a great one. Right. I'm sure they went after Rod Brindamore. I mean, there's a lot of coaches there that were available. So we'll see. I didn't like him when he was here, but that doesn't mean he won't work out there. So we'll see.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens. I mean, the one good thing is that, he can literally put his fingerprints probably all over this team and this organization when they go to the expansion draft. So actually, I'm looking forward to the expansion draft just to see kind of what happens.
It'd be interesting. Yeah. He's going to definitely get a few coaches he's coached before. I can tell you that.
Yeah, so it's a few
players
but
he's coached before. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens there in the hockey world. Moving from hockey now to basketball, they're still in their conference finals. Hawks and Bucks are tied 1 apiece. The Hawks stole game 1. The Bucks came back and absolutely the Bucks came back and trounced the Hawks in game 2. It's the Bucks after knocking off an injured, depleted Nets team. It's the Bucks series, in my opinion, to lose. There's just too much talent there. Not to say there's not talent in Atlanta. Atlanta's obviously a very, very good team. Knocked off both the Knicks and the 76ers in pretty stunning fashion. But the Bucks, I think, they are the most talented team left in the East. And then in the West, the Suns they've won a couple of different ways. One on a miracle bucket at the buzzer, basically in game 2. The Clips made a miracle comeback in game 3 to make it a series, but then the Suns last night in an absolute defensive showing in the fourth quarter. Neither team shot better than 25% in the fourth quarter. Suns held on to win 84-80. That's the least amount of points scored in any win this entire NBA season, regular season or playoffs. But the Suns won. They've won a couple of different ways now. They're up 3-1. And to me, they're the team to beat overall. And I hope they win it all because I want to see Chris Paul get a ring. Plain and simple. So that's my thoughts on it. So, yeah, NBA playoffs are moving along. It's very interesting how they do their playoffs. The Western Conference Finals could be over in 5 games before the East even plays their 4th game. So whoever, if the Suns do finish that off on Monday or tomorrow, as we're recording this on the 27th, they finished off on the 28th. The Suns could have another long rest, which for some of those older guys like CP3, that could be huge going into the final. Lee, thoughts thus far in the NBA playoffs and how it's wrapping up there?
Yeah, I never understood the justification or the logic behind starting the next round before the first round ends or the next round ends, but maybe one day I'll understand that. Yeah, look, Sixers totally choked against the Hawks. They got a lot of problems going on right now in Philadelphia. Too much onus being put on Ben Simmons, unfortunately for him. He absolutely contributed to that loss by not going for that dunk at the end of the game, but it's never on one player, right? Yeah, look, we're at the point. I just said this about hockey, man. We're at the point where any of these teams can win. If you're there now, you deserve to be there, and you got to be. Your ranking, your standings doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Like if you're there, you're one series away from going to the NBA Finals with an S, for some reason.
Yeah.
All right, and it's up to them.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens for sure. There. And again, I think it's going to be the Suns. Not to say the Clippers can't come back from a 3-1 deficit without Kawhi, with Kawhi Leonard. Them too. The Clippers are very depleted. They're very banged up. They're very injured, and the Suns are clicking. And yeah, JJ, the Knicks.
I don't agree with that.
You know what the Hawks were more physical. The Hawks played a more physical series. They shot better. Yes, there was that miracle shot there at the end of the in the beginning of the series there by Trae Young or whatever. But like. You know what? Sometimes that's.
I don't think that they did.
The Knicks didn't bounce back from that. The Knicks needed to bounce back, and instead they in game 1 and game 2 they looked at it as a dagger.
Obviously he's saying they shit the bet. I don't agree with that. It was that's not how that works in that round. They were not a favorite to win the championship, so it was a series and one team won, one team lost. That's how it happens.
Yeah. Moving on to some other NBA news, a lot of stuff around the Celtics lately, a couple of interesting stories. First off, I just need to say this just because every time he opens his mouth, he says something dumber and dumber. Jay Williams for ESPN. So I hope I'm saying this right. Ime Udoka is the new head coach for the Boston Celtics. And Jay Williams came out and said, it's about time the Celtics finally hired a black coach. Not unknowing that Jay Williams did not know that Boston's actually had a lot of black coaches in their history. Most recently, Doc Rivers, where they won a championship. Oh, and Boston also was the first NBA team to hire a black coach by a guy named Bill Russell. You might have heard of him. He's the got the most rings of any player in NBA history. Dummy. So the fact that ESPN, I get people say stupid stuff. But the fact that this guy is on ESPN every night talking about basketball when he doesn't know the most basic stuff, people are just so stupid. So stupid, just really stupid. And I had to call that out. We had to call you out. That's our bonehead of the week. Jay Williams, absolute moron. Peter says he likes the Udoka hire. I believe I'm saying that correctly. I hope I am. No offense intended if I'm not. But also in the news, sorry to go back to COVID, the Wizards are now saying that the Boston Celtics were the source of the big early outbreak. I know he claimed he got hacked. Peter said he claimed he got hacked on Twitter. Nobody believes that. Because if you're going to hack somebody on Twitter, that you're not going to say, that's not what you're going to say. The Wizards now trashing the Celtics, saying the Celtics are the ones who started the COVID outbreak at the beginning of the NBA season. I don't know if there's any truth to this, but it's just kind of interesting. Teams that are out of the playoffs now and just some ridiculous off the court drama for stuff that happened 6 months ago. We don't know if it's true. We don't know if it's not true. There could have been a dozen different ways that the Wizards had their outbreak. Blaming the Celtics is kind of it'll make for an interesting matchup next year when these two teams meet. Obviously, in the regular season, probably add a little bit more drama, a little bit more intensity to a rivalry that really doesn't exist because the Wizards are historically terrible. But so fun. Lots of fun stories coming out of Boston there for the Celtics. Lee, any thoughts on the Wizards trashing the Celtics in the press?
My thoughts are I can't wait for COVID to be over so we don't have to talk about this crap anymore.
Awesome.
That's
fantastic. Moving on now to the NFL. A lot of interesting stories, a lot of good stories, a lot of bad stories. If you're a Giants fan, good story. Eli Manning rejoining the team as a front office guy. We've actually seen this a lot lately. Dirk Nowitzki did the same thing with the Dallas Mavericks. And Eli will have his number 10 jersey retired next year. Makes perfect sense. Eli, of course, has every major passing record for the Giants. Of course, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. So that's a fun story. Also, Carl Nassib, defensive end for the Raiders, the Vegas Raiders, has come out as the first openly gay man in the NFL. This is a big deal here. Of course, it's Pride Month as we're recording this towards the end of June now. And Carl Nassib came out and he actually became the fastest selling. He was the number 1 jersey sold this week in the NFL there's some people showing their support for him to do this. And his teammates have come out and shown support for him, which has been a breath of fresh air for the NFL because this is typically not to be blunt, not very tolerant typically or forward-thinking league from a top-down perspective. But for him to do this and for him to get the support he's getting, it shows maybe the NFL is changing with the times here. And it's a big deal.
Look, a few things on this. One is we've been told for years that if a player ever came out of his game in the NFL, he'd be murdered. We've been told that, and in a very serious tone, that they'll die. Someone will kill them.
Yeah.
Not only did he come out, not make a big deal out of it in the sense of like, hey, I'm gay. That's kind of just how he said it. Like you said, Ray, support from his teammates, support from other athletes in the NFL, support from other athletes around the globe. Support from the NFL, support from his team. I think the key with his statement was that he said, I feel fine talking about it. I feel fine telling that. It took a long road and a lot of people had to suffer. A lot of people had to live through a lot of pain for him to get to a place where he could be comfortable just talking about it and saying it.
Yeah.
So, there's still a lot of idiots out there that just make it more than it has to be. He's gay. Who cares? It's great that we can talk about this openly and it's just not a stigma. He's standing for a lot of athletes right now. He also made a pretty tremendous donation to the Trevor Foundation, which the the NFL matched. So they got $200,000. There's people that are saying, oh, this is just publicity for the league. I don't really care if it is. Fine. Good. Good. This is something that should have been done a long time ago, right?
This is a positive story.
Yeah, of course. There's always business marketing ideas behind these things, but I don't care what the reason is. It's had to happen anyway. It's the right thing. That's what's important. So I'm glad that they're celebrating him, and that that stigma in sport is starting to break down. And here's the thing, man: when it breaks down completely, we won't even have to talk about it anymore, and that's the key, right?
It won't be a big deal.
Be news.
Yeah, and it's but it's progress begins with the first step,
right.
and this is a good first step.
And guy lives in Westchester, Pennsylvania. He lives 30 minutes from where I am, which is kind of weird.
No,
for the Raiders.
There you go. Well, that's true. A lot of players though don't live.
Oh yeah, the off season.
During the season they live there, but in the off season they live wherever where they went to college or their hometown or close to it or whatever. Very, very few players stay in the city that they play professionally. Funny enough, Philadelphia and New York are like 2 of the exceptions for that. Like a lot of times guys who play with the Eagles or play with the Giants or Yankees or Phillies or whatever, they kind of stay. But that says a lot about the Northeast because we're the best. Other dumb. Okay, back to another bonehead here in the NFL. Frank, that's what I'm going to start calling all these guys. They're just boneheads. Frank Clark, defensive end for the Chiefs, final story in the NFL, arrested this week because they found an Uzi in the backseat of his car when he got pulled over for a routine traffic stop.
That's illegal.
Yeah. Uzis are, that's probably unnecessary. Yeah, that's
illegal.
Gosh,
that's what it is. That's what it is.
It is. It's really stupid. It's just very, very stupid. So it'd be interesting to see how the league reprimands him, if there'll be any how the team reprimands him. Because I can't remember the last time this happened was Plaxico Burress shot himself in the leg. He went to jail for 2 years.
Listen,
So
man,
it'll be interesting to see what happens with
play
this.
stupid games. You're gonna get stupid prizes.
Yeah. Speaking of stupid games, now we move on to baseball.
Yes. No, the game's not stupid. Major League Baseball is stupid.
As we continue to roll out the enforcement of the weird spider tack cheating scandal BS, a lot of head games going on in the league. Sergio Romo, pitcher for the A's, was asked to be checked after his inning of relief. He dropped his drawers right there on the field and said, "I got nothing to hide." And then, of course, Joe Girardi for the Phillies, playing some mind games with Max Scherzer, had Scherzer checked multiple times during the game, to the chagrin of the Nationals in the game. That the Nationals did end up winning, I believe 3-2. But yeah, Joe's a gamesman. That's the thing. I like Joe, because to me, people are like, "Oh, Joe's such a jerk." It's like, no, this gamesmanship. That's Joe taking advantage of the rules that have been placed in front of him and trying to get in the pitcher's head in a night where the Phillies offense continues to struggle, because the Philly offense has been struggling a lot lately. Yeah. But yeah, Lee, what are your thoughts on the ridiculousness that has become the spider tack situation in baseball?
You know, we said this when this happened, that was not strong enough, the ruling. We said you said it was a patch, right?
Yeah.
You said that, they didn't take a lot of time on this, and now what did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? You thought the MLB managers wouldn't use this to their advantage, right? That everyone would just play nice. Dude, Major League Baseball is an effing mess. It is a mess. They have no idea what they're doing. They have no leadership. All right. Just horrendous. I find baseball agonistic to watch right now. I probably made that word up.
Yeah.
It is agony. I don't want to watch it. I have not watched it. And I'm not claiming that I know what I'm talking about now, because I haven't been watching it. I have not even been watching the Phillies. That sport is an effing disgrace to me right now.
Yep.
Baseball fans, diehard baseball fans, I understand why you watch. I would probably watch hockey too under the similar circumstances. I mean, just because I love the game so much. So I don't want to be a hypocrite with that. But this is just disgusting to me, the way this has been done. Right? We always talk, Ray, when we talked about COVID last year, we talked about integrity.
Yep.
Integrity is nosediving in this game right now.
Yeah. Again, this whole spider tack situation is based, and I said it again, yeah, you're right, I said this last week, is them trying to cover their tracks for deadening the baseball and for killing the offense. And it's baseball trying to be like, we didn't do that with the baseballs. It's the pitchers. It's the pitchers' fault. It's Major League Baseball's front office trying to put the onus back on pitchers and managers for a mistake they made because they can't admit that they screwed up, and that right now the season is suffering for it. We had our record-tying 7th no-hitter the other night, which is a combined no-hitter, the Cubs against the Dodgers, which is great. Screw the Dodgers. And like, honestly, it was, and we're only in June. We're not even at the halfway mark of the season yet. We're not at the 81 game mark.
There is no leadership in Major League Baseball. None.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, for all of you that rip on commissioners on all the other sports, and Ray will back me up, because Ray's known me a long time. I've always been very realistic with commissioners. People hate Gary Bettman. He is arguably the greatest thing that's ever happened to hockey on paper. Okay. Not saying he is. You can make an argument for that. Okay. I mean, Stern's not with the NBA anymore. He had a great tutelage as a commissioner. Okay. Yep. Roger Goodell, people hate him. The NFL is still the most profitable league in America, and they play 18 games now. All right. Tagliabue was not bad either.
Yeah.
All right.
No. Yeah.
Manfred is the worst commissioner in the modern era of sport, because we had a lot of racist ass commissioners before in baseball. All right. He is horrible. There is no leadership in Major League Baseball. When I look at Major League Baseball, I'll be really blunt with you, Ray. I see cheaters.
Yep.
Okay. I see horrendous rule changes.
Yep.
I see long, boring games. Don't care how much people love the stats. No leadership in that game. Bud Selig was not a horrendous commissioner. And he oversaw one of the worst periods in the history of the sport.
Yep.
All right. Something's got to change there. I want to watch baseball. For those of you watching this, never heard me speak before, I actually enjoy baseball as a sport. I like to go to baseball games. I even dabbled in playing in baseball at one point in my life, but I cannot watch the product that they are putting on the field right now.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely disgusting. It's frustrating because baseball is my sport, right? Like, it's my number one sport, always has been. And for them to be so lost right now, like you said, Lee, it's lack of leadership.
Complete
for them to have not cracked down on the Astros, for them to have implemented some great rule changes and for this COVID season, then got rid of them. It just shows they're just so. And then they implemented some of the worst ones, which I know Caitlin's a fan of it. I do not like the runner on second base rule in extra innings. It's still not. I'm still not a fan of it. I really don't like it. It really I get it does speed up the game, but it's not my thing. And we're getting
Ray. I'll tell you this: for America's pastime, it's a black eye right now. All right. And the thing is, I said this last year. How many times did I have to break my heart? I broke up with baseball last year. I'm not in a bad mood because of it now. I'm telling you this right now. All right. I'm not in a bad mood because they would have broken my heart again this year with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
JJ brings up a great point. And I'll just want to comment. He talks about Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola did tie the strikeout record this week in a game that we still lost. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to watch, man.
Hector Neris is terrible. Yeah.
I don't want to watch. I have no desire to watch baseball right now. None.
Yeah, it's terrible. And speaking of actually, Peter just brought this to our attention here. Breaking news as we're recording the podcast and doing it live. And I just confirmed Hector Santiago of the Seattle Mariners, relief pitcher, is the first pitcher to ever be ejected under the new foreign substance crackdown
cheater.
rules.
Call it what it is.
Yeah.
He's a cheater.
Yeah,
he got caught, and he's going to miss a start. I mean, I know it's 10 starts. He's going to miss a few games, and he's back.
10 days, and that's it. No hurt to his pay or anything like
You've
that.
You've got cheaters in your sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe that people are standing for this stuff, Ray. Fan-wise.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And that's the thing is that now, if you got caught now after they changed the rules,
how many people
you're an
are
idiot.
You're this, though?
You're an idiot. You're an absolute moron.
Now, here's the thing. People will say, well, all pitchers do that. Then you need to change the rules to make it okay. I don't know what to say. This is, dude, I could never watch a sport with this level of cheating. It is horrible. I feel bad for you, Ray. Like you said, this is your sport. I get that.
Yeah.
I feel bad for you because you're in this rock and a hard place. You kind of have to watch.
Yeah.
You know, I get it. I get it, man. But it's like trash. I don't want to feel like crap after watching a sporting event.
Yeah.
Cheater.
No,
you got a cheater. You're keeping a guy out of the Hall of Fame.
Pete Rose, yep.
You're keeping a guy out of the Hall of Fame for, I'm not going to say the wrong reason, but he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep, at this point. Yep.
And this guy just got caught cheating. And it's 10 games. 10, what is it, 10 days?
10 days, yeah.
10 days. Cheater. Just call him what he is. He's a effing cheater.
Yeah.
Horrible.
You know what that is? That's a mid-season vacation. Because he's not losing his pay. He's not losing anything else. It's just a 10-day slap on the wrist.
This is another reason not to watch baseball for me. Again, I really don't want to speak for baseball fans. I really do feel for baseball fans, Ray. Like, this is why I liked watching the College World Series and the Softball World Series. Pure playing for the love of the game.
Yeah,
it's just race, and I want it to be known that I feel that way. I have no problem talking about this. Baseball is going to have to take a lot to earn me back. And if they say, "Well, we don't care if we have you back," that's part of the problem. You never turn fans away. For years, Ray. Side note: hockey's stupid. Hockey's dumb. What do? We don't say, "Well, F you, we don't need you." Bring him to a hockey game. Never brought someone to a hockey game that didn't love the game after being at a game. Ever. It's never happened. In my experience. Baseball, I want to come back, but you've got to change.
Yeah.
All that tradition, hundreds of years of tradition, they're flushing it down the toilet, and that pisses me off. It really does.
Yeah. I mean, and for those of you out there who are confused, I mean, look, it is, the changing of the rules mid-season with the spider tax stuff is kind of ridiculous. How they implemented it has been ridiculous, but it is still cheating, and it does need to be. It should be enforced. Now that the rules are finally being enforced, Like this guy Hector Santiago is a moron for getting caught now.
Can we just be real for a minute about the whole thing? The MLBPA and the MLB are too close together, and it will not get better until that is separated a bit. They have no interest in bettering the game. They have an interest in making absolutely the most money humanly possible. That is all they care about, and it does not matter how many people cheat as long as people are coming to the stadiums and watching on TV. They will not change. It's one of those instances. They are too close. They do not have to mind.
I mean, even me, I'm at the point now. It was Yankees Red Sox this weekend. You know how much of this series I watched, Lee? I didn't watch a single inning.
I mean, that's unheard of for you. Okay.
I didn't watch a single inning.
That's a red alert.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's not just because the Yankees are bad. It's just because I don't care about, I'm losing my passion for the game.
Yeah. It does not make you feel, actually, what you just said, Ray, is the key to the whole thing. All right. And baseball's already in trouble. Okay. They were already in trouble in terms of getting new fans. The statistics are not in their favor right now. Like, sport will be dead if they don't change in 50 years. Yeah. I don't think that will happen, but that sport will die in 50 years if they continue on this trajectory.
Yeah. No, it's in a lot of trouble. And Rob Manfred,
he needs to be fired.
All he's doing is he's pouring gasoline on the fire. That's all he's doing. Yeah. And it's disgusting and it's terrible. And like I said, folks, it was Yankees Red Sox this weekend. I didn't watch a single inning.
That's unheard of.
Didn't care. Just didn't care to. I looked up the box score, right? Like, I mean, I know what happened in the game because I looked up the box score, but I didn't watch any highlights. I didn't watch anything of the game except aside from the fact that I got the score alerts on my phone. That's it. Because I'm losing my passion for the game. I'm starting to not care about baseball. Aside from when I play on MLB The Show 21 here on twitch.tv/Ray Carcillo. That's the real my baseball games are better than the real baseball.
There's no cheating in baseball. Here's the funny thing about this, right? You know what? I'm actually not trying to be funny. MLB The Show is inaccurate now because they didn't put cheating in the game. That would be part of it. Think about it, right? That would be part of the game now. Like, just horrible, man. Horrible.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous.
Nobody wants this guy in place except for the owners, and they don't care because money's coming in. Just dumb.
Also, real quick, you know what's terrible? The new All-Star game jerseys. I don't know if you saw these this week.
No, I haven't even looked.
Yeah, they just because we've done before terrible jerseys. They're disgusting. It's basically a team's logo with their abbreviation of the letters over the logo. And to the point where managers are now coming out and be like, can we just have the players wear their regular game day uniforms? That's how bad it is. The managers for the All-Star games and other managers have come out and basically said, we just want our guys to wear just our regular uniforms.
I will bite because I'm going to look up MLB All-Star Jerseys.
Yeah, these are bad. These are terrible.
All right, as Ray takes a trip and I have to narrate for the next second or two.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, this is really awful. Again, the first round of the All-Star voting is over. Yeah, they're terrible. They're absolutely disgusting. Game, of course, already with tons of like bad news around it.
Right. They didn't move.
Moved it from Atlanta to Colorado, and nobody wants to take part in the home run derby this year. Did you hear that? Aside from Alonso, who's defending his title, and Ohtani, who, of course, has been a freak of nature, one of the few good stories to come out of baseball, everybody they keep asking to take part in the home run derby is saying no. In fact, other people have come out, like Gary Sanchez of the Yankees, who take it with a grain of salt because Gary's a moron. But Gary's like, the last thing I would ever want to do is take part in a home run derby ever again. He said it's exhausting. He said it's a waste of my time. He said it screwed up my swing, which I have actually heard before from other people. Other players have said that, but he's like, I would never take part in a home run derby ever again.
This game's in trouble. Kaylin, who's our producer, I'm sorry to make you do this, but make sure you put up a picture of those All-Star jerseys on this episode, like probably what I'm talking. Here's a great tweet for you, Ray. MLB really woke up today and said, how can we make the All-Star game worse? Instead of players wearing their traditional jerseys during the game, they'll instead wear these.
Yeah,
it's
just absolutely horrible.
Who's running this
Let's
league?
see. JJ asks, what's worse, Red Wings reverse retro or MLB All-Star jerseys? I'll still say the All-Star jerseys.
They're bad, dude. I'm looking at them. They look like soccer jerseys. I don't know what they were doing here.
Yeah, I don't get it whatsoever. But yeah, it's baseball.
They're not even button downs. Like they're not even it looks this legit looks like a soccer jersey. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Yeah. Baseball doesn't know what it's doing in general. You know what? Also, speaking of what else is dumb and terrible, this is quick before we get into our mashup. This is a story that came up very late last night that I added at the last second because I thought it was hysterical. The Tour de France just started, and I'm not sure if you saw this.
Another group of cheaters.
Speaking of cheaters, exactly. Well, Caitlin, we don't like the way that baseball and softball uniforms are going, if that's the way they're going, because they're ugly and they're disgusting and stupid. The Tour de France, they can be like that at the amateur level. These are the pros, and they should wear something that isn't disgusting. Get into an argument with the Twitch chat. That's what we're here for. Yeah.
Caitlin, we appreciate you. Ray appreciates you too,
Caitlin. We do appreciate you. We do appreciate you. I'm just adamant that these jerseys are bad for baseball. And JJ does bring a good point. The Mets are bringing back their black jerseys. I do actually think that
those were sharp. Well, yeah, orange and black. I wonder where they got that idea.
Yeah.
You weren't the first.
Anyway. Yeah. But yeah, the Tour de France started yesterday, and already it's a disaster as a fan basically jumped onto the track and took out half the field yesterday, causing one of the biggest crashes in Tour de France history. This is worse than the basketball fans jumping on throwing stuff on the court, the Islander fans throwing trash on the ice. This guy literally hurt dozens upon dozens of cyclists yesterday. And so this is our ultimate bonehead of the week, because this guy, I mean, like he didn't jump. He leaned over, like there's a protective barricade. He basically leaned his whole body over, holding up a sign. And one of the cyclists ran into the guy, and it caused this chain reaction. Guys, look this up. It's on Twitter. Look up the Tour de France. It caused a massive, massive accident to Tour de France. We're talking literally dozens upon dozens of guys hurt. It basically already derailed the whole Tour de France, because now everybody who's ahead of this has a massive lead over everybody who got caught in this wreck. It's absolutely disaster. And this is why bike racing.
I'm looking at this now. It looks like an attack.
It's a massive humanity. Yeah, you would think that like it's ridiculous. It's absolutely horrendous what happened.
Wow. Well, you'll be happy to know, Ray, they open an investigation, and that the man's going to be sued for doing that.
Well, he should be. All those guys should get some sort of financial compensation for this moron basically leaning out into the middle of an active racetrack. Oh, maybe you should go do that at NASCAR or something.
I'll say this too. I used to be a huge, and Ray, you actually know this. I used to be a huge Tour de France fan. I was a huge fan of Lance Armstrong. Yeah. I used to watch it
until he was a cheater too.
I used to watch that every year. I was a big fan, and then he broke my heart too. He just, obviously cheated. But I'm looking at this crash right now. It legit looks like an anthill was stomped on, and the ants are scurrying all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, massive crash. And they're showing it now too. Oh my God. All right. You guys got to watch that. I'm not going to tell you. You guys got to watch that right at the top of the field too.
Yeah. No.
Right?
Yeah. Like there's only a few guys.
There's only people flying on my screen right now, Ray.
Yeah. There's only a few guys who got out of this like unscathed out of the whole group. And like, yeah, that happened. I had to bring that up because.
Well, here's the deal too, Ray, is that the Tour de France has always been notoriously pretty bad about spectators, and like they're too close to the track.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest about it. I'm trying to watch the moment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was like a sign. You hit the sign.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like also like it's like I talked about
the whole peloton got in this thing.
Yeah.
I'm serious, dude. Like 7 riders went ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy was taking like a selfie or something, or he was looking for the camera.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was looking for the camera. He was looking for the camera. He was looking for the
oh my God,
the television camera. He was gawking. He was hamming it up for the television camera.
Dude, I want people to hear this. I think 11 or 12 riders got through this thing. The whole peloton crashed. For those who don't know what a peloton is, it's not an exercise bike. All right. Yeah. I mean, it is, but the peloton is the group of riders, and there's 100 of them. The whole peloton crashed.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys are seriously hurt.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of guys who continued were still bleeding. Like it was like
God,
it was bad.
I gotta stop watching that.
Yeah,
I get to run over. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
oh yeah. No,
that was fun.
It's rough.
Thanks,
rough. Yeah.
Thanks, France.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, this is like the U.S. Open with golf, like where they were basically Phil Mickelson couldn't get through the crowd because all the fans stormed the field. I get everybody's been cooped up for a while. You got to learn. We talked about this a couple weeks now ago on the show because of the NBA fans, and now with the NHL fans throwing stuff on the ice. You all got to start remembering how to act like human beings again. All right,
Look,
time to wait. Time to shape up. I'm gonna start putting on your best behavior.
I'm gonna call
You're
it
outdoors
right now
amongst other people.
that the Tour de France puts up barriers next year. Calling it out.
Oh yeah, huge fencing. I'm calling it for it. So that does it for our sports section. That brings us now into our mashup, and we're not just talking about what happened at the Tour de France with those bodies on top of each other. We're talking about we got a good one for you this week. We mentioned very beginning of the show the Fantastic Four was going to be the final film of Phase 4. So who would be the Fantastic Four of the 4 major sports? That's what we want to know from you guys. Lee is ready to go. He's got his notes. So as always, I'm going to let him go first.
Ray, I think I actually got a pretty strong set here. Okay. So the rules are, and I'll tell you what, Ray, if you didn't follow these rules, because I didn't really fully explain them, I'm not going to make you change them on the spot. But my rules for this are active athletes and one from each sport. Okay. So I can't have like 4 football players or anything like that. Okay. You ready for mine? You pick the character. I'll tell you the athlete.
All right, give me Mr. Fantastic.
Tom Brady. It's an easy one. That's the only person it can be. I don't think there's anyone else that's as good enough of a candidate. There's other candidates, but it's absolutely Tom Brady. Think about it. The guy stretches. He's elastic. The dude legit owns a stretching band company. All right. I mean, it's him.
All right.
That's Tom Brady.
Okay. Human Torch.
Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
Connor McDavid. That's kind of an obvious choice for me too. The guy flies. Literally, he's the fastest player in sport outside of track star. For me, it's Connor McDavid. It makes sense. The only irony is he doesn't play on the Flames. That would have made it a lot better. So I guess Johnny Gaudreau if I'm picking that way. But no, yes, it's Connor McDavid.
Okay. The Thing.
Zion Williamson.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
I already had a football player, so I couldn't pick another football player.
That's fair. That's fair. That leaves us with the invisible woman.
Simone Biles. Done.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. You went actually like for a woman in gymnastics. Okay.
I mean, Simone Biles is the best. She's the GOAT, the greatest of all time. I'm pretty sure she could contort her body to disappear. And I would love to have Captain America on my team. And yes, I'm talking about her.
Okay.
I could have been Chris Evans if you play that out. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
All right, Ray, you ready?
Yeah.
Mr. Fantastic.
Shohei Ohtani in baseball.
Yeah,
because he's a two-way player.
I did want to pick him. I pick him. I just Tom Brady edged it out. I did think about him.
Yeah. So because he's Mr. Fantastic because he's two-way player, obviously super flexible, can hit, can pitch, can play the field, going to be in the home run derby. Right. So he was my Mr. Fantastic.
But does he own his own band company?
Not yet.
Yeah. Right. he is the only bright spot on the MLB. I will say that he is the only bright spot on it.
It's one of the only good story. Right? Yeah.
Okay. Let's go Sue Storm next.
Kawhi Leonard, because he's been hurt. He's constantly hurt, and he's absolutely obviously he's been out you can't see him. He's not in the playoffs.
Oh, you went the sarcastic route. That's a great answer, by the way. That's a phenomenal answer. He's invisible. He's always
he's not there. He's not there.
He doesn't always contribute without the help of somebody else.
Oh,
gosh. I have a feeling your thing is better than Johnny Storm. So go ahead, Donnie Storm, Human Torch.
I went Mahomes because he's constantly torching defenses. Patrick Mahomes.
That's it. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, that's his Pokemon voice that we made for him.
Yeah. So I went with him because torching defenses, obviously running around like that's
he's got the right jersey for it. That's fair.
Yep. That's wearing a red jersey. Yeah.
That was one of my favorite mashups, by the way, when we made NFL athletes into Pokemon.
Yes.
The mashup buzz for those who watch is what sound would their Pokemon make, and it's got to be their name, right? So Patrick Mahomes was Mahomes, and I remember we did Brady.
Tom Brady.
Yeah. Foles. Foles. Anyway, keep going. We should bring in some more NFL athletes in the future. All right.
Yes.
I have a feeling this is gonna be the best one. The Thing.
I don't know. I hope it is. I mean, obviously the last sport left is hockey. And for me, I JJ kind of said the same thing. I went with Ovechkin.
Yeah,
because when I think of somebody saying it's clobbering time with like a Russian accent, it's clobbering time.
No, it would just be clobber time.
Yeah, so I think that would be. I think that would be. I think Ovechkin for sure.
Ovechkin,
especially if he's been drinking out of the Stanley Cup or whatever. Like he's been like,
he becomes a thing when that happens.
Exactly. So
Ovechkin's a totally fair. I mean, he's a beast, right? I pick Zion because he's like 280 pounds.
He's a freak of nature too. That was a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Zion, Simone Biles was my obvious Sue Storm.
Oh, for sure. That's a great choice too.
If we're talking like a strong Sue Storm, right?
Yeah.
Like Jessica Alba in the first movie.
Yeah.
Actually, she wasn't bad in the second, but she was the only bright spot of those movies, I thought. Okay.
I like Michael Chiklis as the Thing too.
I didn't have a problem with those movies. They're pre-Marvel, so they worked out.
Yeah.
Silver Surfer wasn't as bad as people think it is. It's just the Silver Surfer and Galactus.
The Galactus was the issue with that film, where it's just a giant cloud at the end.
But here's the thing: is like they would have worked. Sorry, go side note here. But if they had like an MCU style of filming where he appeared over 10 movies, they could have done that, right?
Yes.
But no, Galactus. They did have one scene where you could see his face and he had his helmet on. I'm like, what am I watching right now? And why is Morpheus the Silver Surfer? Yeah. Anyway, we want to know, but we want to know what you think. Let us know who is your Fantastic Four in modern sports with an athlete that's still active from any sport. Just can't be two of the same sport.
Yeah. No, exactly. So that's that was a good one. That was a fun one. I really like that one. That was one of our
JJ threw some picks in here. DeGrom, Brady, Giannis, and Ovechkin, because why not? That's first off, thanks for participating.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so which one is so if Brady, I imagine Brady's his Mr. Fantastic.
Right.
Ovechkin would be his thing.
Yep.
Is Giannis the Invisible Woman, and then DeGrom is the Human Torch because he throws 100, so we probably torching guys. I guess that's the way he would.
That's what I think. We'll find out now if we know our fan base well enough to know what we're talking about.
I think because I mean JJ's a Mets fan. He's not gonna make DeGrom the Invisible Woman. So
what's wrong with it being a woman, Ray?
No, I'm not.
He wasn't going there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just teasing him. Ray is one of the most, in a good way, self-conscious people about stuff like that. Yeah. It was worth it for me to have him be uncomfortable for 1 second. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. So now JJ, you're not following the rules, JJ, because you picked 2 hockey players.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, well, I know you like
that. No, it's okay. He's a baseball fan. He's allowed to break the rules.
Oh, there we go. JJ treating. All right. Well, on that note,
wait. You'll notice, Ray, I didn't pick a baseball player in mine.
No, I know you purposely left them out. I don't blame you. But see, when you say the 4 major sports, gymnastics doesn't come. Gymnastics doesn't come to.
No, I know. He says the Invisible Woman is Brady, which makes no sense, but it's a great news. All right, now he's jumping back. He's going, I mistyped. Anyway, we want to know what you think if you're listening to the podcast. Obviously, JJ, thanks for being here live with us. For those of you listening at home, we always appreciate you. Obviously, check us out. Everything you do to help us grow, we really, really appreciate it. We're working on a lot of stuff right now to get even bigger than we are now. So thank you so much for listening to Ray and I jabber for almost 2 hours today about sports and geekdom.
Yeah, we do appreciate it as always. JJ says, "Oh, it's a chirp." I get you. Okay. But all right, so we're gonna.
I know a lot of strong women, JJ. I know a lot of strong women.
Yeah, for sure. But thank you all for tuning in. Like Lee said, thank you all as always. Like you said, obviously Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Here, I'm gonna put the socials here in the Twitch chat. If you're here live, if you're already not part of. If you're not part of following us on all the social media or me on all the social media, actually, because I just realized, of course, that this is all my stuff here in Twitch. But we do have a Discord server. Come to our Discord server. That's starting to pop off. People are starting to join there a bit more regularly, which is great. I hope you all have a great 4th of July. Again, we will not be here. No geeks for 4th of July.
Some massive news story. We will not be here next week.
We may do like a special mini-sode. Yeah, like a mini-sode if something huge happens. But otherwise, we'll see you the week after the 4th of July.
Happy birthday, America.
Yes, enjoy. Have some barbecue. Have some beer if you're of age. If not, have a soda. Thank you all for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. As always, follow us everywhere, like the socials, and of course, anywhere podcasts are heard. But until next time, 2 weeks from now, for Lee, I am Ray. This has been Geeks Who Like Sports, episode 113. Good night, everybody. Take care. See you all later. Again, have a great 4th of July.